Galway are playing New York on the 6th of April here in Gaelic Park.
That's
And
right.
I'm doing a quiz today, and all my listeners are welcome to try and enter this. So I'm going to give them a quiz. There's a square in Galway. There is a statue in the square, on the square, in the square. And like most statues in Ireland, it's usually covered in bird shit. So Galway County Council come out once in a while and they give it a head and shoulders.
Hmm.
Statue, I'll give a clue. Statue is of a man. He's dead, obviously, a poet and a writer. And he wrote a book, and the title of the book is in Irish, Oscalia. So I want my listeners, everyone that can get onto this, and I have 2 tickets to give away a few days before the game. So I need the name of the guy on the statue. That's the easy bit. I need the title of the book in Irish language. And then I need, just to narrow it down, I want the title of the book translated into English. So name of the guy in the statue, bird shit or no bird shit, the book that he wrote, the title of the book that he wrote, Oscailga, and then translated into English. And that's
English.
it.
Well, those tickets are in big demand. So
I know. Hello again, everybody. John D. Healy here again, back with you with another podcast. It's good to talk. Always good to talk. I always have nice guests on. Today will be no exception. I always do my few promos before I get my guests to talk, and the guests will talk. Podcasting, I got started off when I produced a book for my good friend Tony McAndrew during COVID and lockdown. We put a lot of work into it, and then, of course, had to do something to promote the book. Stoney was born 1941, and he's still busy up to today. Stories are from 1941 all. People do ask me, is he alive? Yes, he's alive. He's moving faster than Joe Biden, and he would beat him on a bicycle race. My sponsors are Liffey Van Lines Moving Company here in New York City, and they've been around forever and ever. They're getting very, very busy right now, and they do moves, pianos, commercial, long distance, and even if you want to go to Ireland, they can get you loaded up and get you there. Paper I shout about is the Irish Examiner USA. Paddy McCarthy is the editor and owner, and he will be promoting all kinds of festivals coming up, summer festivals, no that. But enough said about that. Another lady was on to me, Terry Patterson. Terry will be on a podcast soon. She's 90 years old, so I hope she doesn't tip the bucket. I was getting worried about my current guest that she was going to disappear on me. Anyways, my guest today is the Mayo Person of the Year, Mayo Lady of the Year for 2025. Maureen, hello, good to have you.
it's Siobhan. Maureen's my sister.
Well, I'm very
That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay.
Okay,
Everybody
well,
confuses us.
you look like twins, but that's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately,
okay.
I'm the
Siobhan.
older one.
Okay, well, Siobhan McEntee Gibbons. Okay,
Okay.
and I guess your husband's name is McEntee.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll let you explain everything just before I really. I'll have to get a DNA test out here to check everyone out. So tell me about you. What's the Irish connection? Your father, your mother. Tell me.
My father's from Cong, County Mayo, and my mom was from Scottstown, County Monaghan.
Okay,
So they both met here in New York in Gaelic Park.
okay,
Met in the early 70s, late 60s,
okay.
and married and had 6 kids.
Very
And
good.
Maspeth Queens.
So
Yeah.
where do you fit in the six?
I'm number 2. My older brother George, then myself, Brendan,
Right.
Bernadette.
Maureen, I'd mentioned.
Maureen is 10 years younger than me.
Well, I tell you, she looks good again.
Yeah.
So have you been to Mayo? Have you been to Monaghan?
Yes, we're lucky enough to go back. We try to go at least once a year.
Okay.
We've gone several times.
Right. Well, I won't ask you which do you favor more. But let's talk about Cong, given that I'm Mayo as well. Cong
Okay.
is absolutely beautiful.
It's a beautiful village, and we're lucky enough to have grown up going back and forth quite
Right.
often.
So you have a good flavor of Irish culture, Irish history.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I had Jim Prendergast on here, the Mayo Man of the Year, and he had a lot of connections with the Mayo thing as well. Do you have that same Irish, more Irish than the Irish ourselves? Like in
Well, I
terms
think,
of Irish culture?
yeah, I think when you grow up in New York and when your parents come from Ireland and they make a life in America, that they definitely, there's stronger connections maybe because you want that piece of home. So that's how we were grown up. We were brought up to be involved. And we used to go years ago to benefits in the Tower View Ballroom that used to be in Woodside. And that's actually where my parents' reception was
Okay.
many years ago.
Very good.
And, different events that were going on, they'd bring us as kids. We marched in the St. Patrick's Day parade every year and all those things. And, maybe some Irish don't do those things, but I think my parents, they made a life in America, but they never forgot where they were from. So they were
Very
happy
important.
to keep their roots and show us and, bring us up
Well,
in the culture.
and the culture, and clearly you benefited from it because it's part of who you are now. No,
Absolutely. I mean, the Mayo dance was a fantastic night.
yeah,
We're a part of a few different organizations, and we made such good friends over the years
okay.
and gone to many different events, many trips, many laughs, a lot of fun, and I wouldn't change anything.
Good for you. Well, the Mayo Society of New York, and I'm a member myself, and of course the president is my nephew, and the vice president is Morin. But
Yeah.
they go back to the 80s, and they go back to, I think, around the time of the famine, and their involvement in doing good works and charity, and a lot of good work for not just for people from Mayo, but everywhere, in terms of helping people find employment, find accommodation. When they arrive here and they don't have too much, so
Hmm.
that generosity is still with the Mayo Society of New York, and some of your people of old, like Betty McLaughlin, is a neighbour of mine from Mayo, and Betty is still going strong, as well as all your other fine people that work. Tell me more about the other organisations that your parents got you involved in.
We're involved in the Monaghan Society, and then, of course, the Monaghan Football Club through my husband. My husband is also from Monaghan. He's from Monaghan Town, Bernie McAndrew. So he used to manage the Monaghan Football Club many years ago. So we were involved with that. And of course, him being from Monaghan as well as my mom, we have a strong connection with the Monaghan Society as well. We're involved with the parents and students of Irish dancing and music over the
Right, that's good.
years. Years ago, we all Irish danced and that. My kids play music, so be involved with Dawn Doherty and the Ashling Irish Centre. Girls were in the Healy band, and Frankie McCormick is another teacher that teaches along with Dawn and the ballet group. Also, they went back to Mayo to
Right.
play in Castlebar, which was a really nice experience. Yeah. Catherine Flood, a Monaghan woman, she has us involved in Project Children and the move back to Monaghan next year, which is a big
Project.
event.
Explain a little bit more about that to me, because that's something I'm trying to figure out. Is that a transfer of children from the north to here? Am I right?
Yeah, that started in 1975 by Dennis Mulcahy, a man from Cork. And he was just last week, he was the Grand Marshal of the Yonkers Parade.
Very good.
And he brought the first, I think it was 6 kids here in 1975. A group with him and friends from Greenwood Lake decided to try and give them a break from the troubles. And they spent the summer in Greenwood Lake. And then as the years went on, they increased and they stayed with host families. And I believe over 23,000 kids have been brought over. Yeah, in all the years. So then they started to reverse and send children back from America to
Okay,
Ireland, to Galway
that's
for two
brilliant.
weeks. Yeah, and the Mulcahy Scholarship. And two of my children were actually lucky enough to be recipients of that.
Okay,
So it's a wonderful, wonderful
it is. It's a great idea.
organization. Yeah, all around. And I know my daughter, Triona, was one of the recipients during COVID. So they spent the time in Greenwood Lake. But my son, Seamus, who's 20 now, he went to Galway, and it's one of the best memories of his life.
So I'll be talking
Yeah,
about
he really
Galway.
enjoyed it.
I'll be talking about Galway in a minute, actually. And while I'll use that to mention Galway are playing New York on the 6th of April here in Gaelic Park.
That's
And
right.
I'm doing a quiz today, and all my listeners are welcome to try and enter this. So I'm going to give them a quiz. There's a square in Galway. I'm sure your son Seamus was there many, many times at the square. He might know the answer. There is a statue in the square, on the square, in the square. And like most statues in Ireland, it's usually covered in bird shit. So Galway County Council come out once in a while and they give it a head and shoulders.
Hmm.
Statue, I'll give a clue. Statue is of a man. He's dead, obviously, a poet and a writer. And he wrote a book, and the title of the book is in Irish, As Gaeilge. So I want my listeners, everyone that can get onto this, and I have 2 tickets to give away a few days before the game. So I need the name of the guy on the statue. That's the easy bit. I need the title of the book in Irish language. And then I need, just to narrow it down, I want the title of the book translated into English. So name of the guy in the statue, bird shit or no bird shit, the book that he wrote, the title of the book that he wrote, As Gaeilge, and then translated into English. And that's
English.
it.
Well, those tickets are in big demand. So
I know, but I want my listeners
your
to email
listeners will be doing their homework.
jnews@yahoo.com. And if you're enjoying myself and Siobhan today, subscribe. It's free to subscribe. So I'm glad your son Seamus got his transfer to Galway because it's a
Hmm.
great, great city. I went to university there. But that's really good. And I'm glad that idea was conceived by a Cork man, of course, like Ed McCarthy, and that so many have availed of it. Because you have to understand people sometimes, you have to spend a little bit of time with them and get to know them a little bit in their territory and where they grew up and see what they do and how they do it. I'm sure the people from Northern Ireland that came here, I would assume that they remain friends with your daughter and your son, people you meet.
Yes. Oh, my son met another boy at the program in Galway from Germany, and he has
Wow.
family in Queens, and he comes to
Wow.
visit every year. They meet up maybe twice a year.
Which
Yeah.
is
So
brilliant.
it's
It's nice to hear
really
that.
fantastic.
That's really, really good.
Although Seamus had been to Ireland many times, this really stood out because it was in a different way. He stayed, with a host family in Galway City. They traveled around. They did the Cliffs of Moher and all different activities, and spent the time at the Celtic Irish Academy, American Academy, and it really was just a life-changing experience for him.
Well, that is great. And you're blessed to have Seamus and your daughter for them to
Yeah,
have those experiences.
absolutely.
Of course. So moving on, the home place, you have a bar in Queens, I assume, and your sister, in case I upset her again. The bar is called, I'll get in trouble here. Gibbons's Home. Am I
The
right in saying that?
Gibbons home, yeah, it's in
Gibbons
massive
Home.
Queens, New York.
And so Gibbons Home, it's a great name, I think, for a bar because you want to feel welcome and feel at home. And I've
Hmm.
been there several times and I did feel at home there because if I get enough Guinness in me, I think I am home. I'm glued to the stool. But good atmosphere, live music from time to time. I know I met some musician people there and other activities. We had a race night there,
That's right. It's coming up again, April 26th.
April 26th, and it's the
Yeah, the
same
Mayo
idea.
Football Club of New York's race night in the Gibbons home.
Okay, and that was a lot of fun, and I want to join again because I love that type of thing.
Yeah, it was great fun. Good laughs, and
Listeners,
people won
pay
a few
attention.
dollars. And
Yeah. So listeners, pay attention again to Siobhan. The race line is on the 26th of April. You can be there or not there, but better fun to be there. You can bet on a horse, just like you're at the racetrack.
yeah,
You can buy a horse if you want to buy a horse.
you can buy a horse, you can buy raffles. All
Yeah.
the proceeds go to the Mayo Football Club of New York.
And that's a great idea. And it's a great fundraiser too.
Yeah, and we do it in memory of my dad. It's the one thing we do every year and to keep his memory alive.
That's even adds more to it.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
great.
So your dad also, I believe, had a bar called the Putching Still. Is that right?
Well, he worked there. His brother Eddie Gibbons was the owner, and my
Okay.
dad used to work there for him. Yeah, Gibbons Poaching Still Pub, and it
Yeah.
had the Irish import store connected to it. And
Okay.
they were one of the first people, I think, to have the newspapers and things years ago. And
Yeah.
actually, the football games, my dad's brother Dick in Kong, who's passed since, like my father, he used to put the phone to the TV, and my dad used to put the phone in New York behind the bar
Okay.
to a microphone so that everybody could hear the games.
That
So
was
that's how they used to do it.
very innovative for its time.
Yeah, yeah,
Very,
many, many
very good.
years ago.
And I mean, the atmosphere, like I'll have Michael D. McAndrew on shortly from Midwest Radio, happens to be my nephew. He's a sports journalist, a
Hmm.
highly qualified, very professional sports
I met him
journalist.
last year when he was over.
He did indeed, yeah.
I did.
And they're over again, the whole Midwest team, and they're in Connolly's the weekend of the 6th before the Galway New York game. So you'll meet Michael D
Oh, we'll be
again.
there. Yeah,
You'll meet all of those people again, yeah. So that's
wonderful.
good. So Michael D has the modern technology, but your Eddie and your dad had to be really inventive.
They
Put
really
the
did.
phone to the radio, put it out live in the pub so
Yeah,
people have the real atmosphere.
yeah.
So great idea to have the horse race in memory of your father.
Hmm.
It was a lot of fun the last time I was there. So I think I'll buy a horse this time. I promise I won't be the jockey myself. I'll have to get a jockey, some skinny one to maybe my nephew in the Healy. I think he'd be a good jockey. Yeah, I think so. Maybe his wife, Jenny. Someone that's not a good jockey that'll win. I don't care.
We have a lot of fun. You get fun naming the horses funny names and stuff like that.
I can come up with some funny names, believe
Yeah,
me.
I'd say you could.
Absolutely. So let's see what else we got to cover. Michael D is on the way shortly, and Jimmy has to sing a song, I think. So, and Jimmy will sing the Written Green of Mayo, I guess, because it's the
Okay.
Written Green of Mayo, even though we're talking Galway and Mayo.
Last night I dreamed you were back again, larger than life again, holding me tight again, placing those same kisses on my brow, sweeter than ever now. Lord, I remember how couldn't get enough of kissing. Do you know how much you're missing? No, you don't, but I do. The days like a slow train trickle by, and even the words that I write refuse to fly. All I can hear is your song haunting me. Can't get the melody out of my head, you see. Distractions are amusing. Do you know how much you're losing? No, you don't, but I do. But I do, and I wonder if I'm past the point of rescue. Is no word from you at all the best that you can do? Never meant to push or shove you. Do you know how much I love you? No, you don't, but I do. I swore I'd never fall like this again. Fools like me never win. Came to my knees again. Can't close the door on a likelihood. Things might be just as good. I always believed they would. Gotta let your love invite me. Baby, do you think it might be? No, you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do.
Well, the dinner dance was a great night.
Yes, it
And
was
all of you,
fantastic.
everyone looked fantastic. And indeed, and the band were excellent.
They were excellent.
They
McLean
really
Avenue
were.
Band.
The band were top notch. I was even on the floor dancing, but that takes a lot of courage and skill, I guess, for me. And the food was good, and everything was. It was a wonderful, wonderful night.
It really was.
And it was indeed fantastic. And then you had the parade on the Monday on St. Patrick's Day.
The parade was a
So
great day too. Great
the
turnout for
parade was
Mayo.
good. The rain stayed away. So, like Rose Maloney, my sister, she was the Lady of the Year last year. And you will, by the way, be called to a lot of different activities and a lot of different events. So enjoyed the glamour, enjoyed the honeymoon, but you
I
will
was
be
afraid to follow Rose Maloney as Woman of the Year this
well.
year. As much as I was honored for the title, she's a unreal woman.
She's a busy woman, and like yourself, involved in a lot of good organizations and does a lot of good work. So people like you and Rose, and indeed your sister Morin too. I know she'll probably kill me for saying her name 5 times, but you know the work you put in, it comes back to you too,
It
and people
absolutely comes
do
back.
admire it and thank it. So Rose Maloney and yourself, for whoever it is coming down the line, it's a high bar for the next people to follow. And I must shout to Jim Prendergast too. We were on the
Lovely
podcast.
man, a
He's
lovely
a
family.
great guy, and I learned a lot more about him by talking on the podcast than I knew before. So I met his family then on Paddy's Day, his brothers. So it's good to meet and interact. Even this podcast, people will learn a lot from it too about the bar, the race nights, and Monaghan, of course. Your husband is Bernie McEntee, and you already mentioned that he's involved in sports and football, just like
Mhm.
here Andrew's involved. I think that is involvement with the younger people, like 11, 12, 13, and 14, getting them involved, just like
Yeah.
you are when you were up in the sports, in the music, in the Irish dancing and music. It's really amazing. I look forward to the race night, and I look forward to meeting everyone in Matchfest again. The Mayo Society of New York, when is your meetings on?
I think it's the first Tuesday of every month.
Okay, we'll find that out.
Yeah.
We'll put it up. And I know Donovan's Bar in Queens, I usually have a pre-meeting there or post-meeting there, and they won a huge award, and everyone will be Googling Donovan's Bar. That's the center for the meeting. So Donovan's has got a huge award as well, which is good. So, and then last week, speaking of sports, Martin Moore was on, and we did talk about Special Olympics and me being from Mayo. I mentioned that Rosaline Gallagher, I have a picture, I'll put it up, I guess, in a moment. She won 5 medals in the Paralympic Olympics, 1976. and Roisin Gallagher was from Bangor Erris in County Mayo, 5 medals, and that was a lot. So myself and Mark Moore, we talked about being a volunteer for Special Olympics and the Paralympic Olympics. And then I threw another photograph in there of Jean Kennedy Smith, was the ambassador to art on behalf of the US. And she was very good helping with people with disabilities. So
Very good.
photos, yes, that's all good. And Martin Moore, like ourselves here, we're always helping people and doing, it comes back to us.
Sure.
So Siobhan, I think we've covered everything, and I'll open the door now for Michael D, I guess. And
Okay.
I might have a cup of tea or something in the meantime. Really good to talk to you today, and enjoy the rest of your year being the Mayo Woman of the Year for 2025 on behalf of the Mayo Society. Thanks, Morin.
Thank you very much, John. I'll see
Okay.
you next week at the game.
Yes, you will indeed.
Okay.
We'll enjoy it. Michael D, roll in, please. How are we doing? I'm back today, and I do have another guest on. I have a lot of guests today, but catching up. It's all about Mayo and Galway today, but I have a little housekeeping to do from last week. I had Martin Moore on here, and we were talking about Special Olympics, and a few people contacted me to clarify a few things. So, Eunice Kennedy was the sister of John F. Kennedy. She founded the Special Olympics in 1968. It was her younger sister had a brain operation called lobotomy, I think. The brain operation was screwed up, and that left the little girl with a mental condition, and hence her sister got set up the Special Olympics, because people that can do sports and swimming and walking and running, but they have other abilities other than their mental abilities. Tony King and Jack Ryan always have a question, and they asked me, what's the difference between Special Olympics and the Paralympic Olympics, okay? And I said to myself, geez, they're really keeping track. Well, the difference is the Special Olympics deals with young people or people in general that have some mental condition, whether it's Down syndrome or autism or something like that. The Paralympic people, it's more like physical from a car accident, motorbike accident, and that. Speaking of which, in 1976, we had another winner from County Mayo, Bangor Erris, and that was Roisin Gallagher, who won 5 medals, some achievement. And I'll put up a photograph of myself and Roisin at an event sometime. When she came back to Bangor Erris in 1976, she got a big welcome from all the locals, Paddy Cosgrove and Mr. Kitty, and everyone and anyone. That was a big achievement for Bangor at the time. Mayo never gives up. My guest today is Michael D. McAndrew, who was another guest. He was on before here. That's about 2 years ago, I think, Michael D. And he did answer what I thought was all of the questions at the time, due to Gaelic football and hurling and everything. And then my listener said to me, just when we knew all the answers, they changed all the questions. And I said, what now? So Michael D, can you explain? I know you're coming over to Connolly's with the Midwest team, but first of all, explain the rules. My listeners are confused. Why is 1 pound now 2 pounds?
Well, I think something was needed, John. Many people will say that the game had gone very mundane. From a spectator point of view, it has gone very defensive. There wasn't much entertainment, and even the players would say that themselves. I was a little bit, I suppose, like some of your listeners as well at the start, a little bit sceptical, but the change was needed. I think we all agree now, when you look at the game, it's a much more exciting game and a far better game. With regards to changing the scores, that was the most drastic move we've seen in the GAA, I suppose, in their history, to change the scores. So it's now 2 points if you get a score outside the 40-metre arc. This is a new arc, which is going to be interesting going to Gaelic Park. Last time I was in Gaelic Park, there's plenty of lines on that field, so I don't know how they're going to manage with all the new lines and new arcs. But however, yes, 2 points for a point outside the 40. That's the new rule. Other new rules, it's brought back the art of fielding and high catching, which is great to see. So you see that now as well, where the keeper is forced to go long in many instances. That's for the betterment of the game. Yeah, there's a number of new rules, and I think overall it has definitely helped the game,
All right. So basically, we have to accept change and move on and take it and all that. Some people from Galway will be down in Connolly's to meet you in the Midwest team, Johnny Robinson and Rory Duggan and his good wife, and they're very interested in knowing about the pint situation. If they get 1 pint, does that mean 2 pints? I don't know. I'll have to sit on a high stool in Connolly's and observe that one. But tell me more about the team coming over. Who's coming over from Midwest Radio?
Yeah, so myself, Paul Claffey, Jerry Gillen, and also Brendan Nugent are heading over. We're going on Thursday before the match.
Okay.
And we are doing 2 special shows from Connolly's. We'll be there on the Friday evening, and that will be from 8 to 10 Irish time,
Okay.
which will be 3 to 5 local time in New
Okay.
York. So basically, everyone with any Galway connection, West of Ireland connection, get to Connolly's. There'll be good buzz, good atmosphere, good crack. There'll be music, and that's on the Friday evening. And then the Saturday, we're going to be there again. It's going to be from 5:15 to 8 p.m. Irish time,
Okay.
which again is 12 o'clock basically US
Okay.
time.
Well, I'm sure some of the Galway and Mayo people they can take advantage of the 2 times, of course. And they'll be there for Irish time and for New York time.
Yeah, it's a big celebration for Carla Strand people because Carla Strand GAA Club on the Mayo GAA border, they're doing a big fundraising initiative at the
Right.
moment for facilities, and they'll be there. They'll have some great prizes for people listening over in the US. They can buy tickets for their competition, and they can get them back to Ireland with Aer Lingus and spending money as well in there. So they have some great prizes. Sean Kane, he's a legendary Carla Strand man, great musician, great singer. He's going to be performing in Connolly's that weekend as well. So it'll be good fun, good crack, good atmosphere.
Well, Sean Keane, indeed, excellent, and everyone knows his sister Dolores Keane
Yeah.
made the song Caledonia famous. So I'm sure yourself and Paul Claffey and Jerry Glynn on the way over on Aer Lingus, you'll have a lot to talk about yourselves in terms of your own, shall we say, internal gossip about the various players. I know you wouldn't do that. If that was the case, Aer Lingus would have a confessional box on that flight, and there probably would be a bigger line for the confessional box than for the toilet after the lunch would be over on Aer Lingus. But name some of the players that you think on the Galway team that are going to make a difference on the day to the game. And I'll dub 2 questions. Well, you mentioned there about the rules. Like Gaelic Park, how are they going to manage with the arc and those lines? I don't see anyone up there with a bucket of paint yet.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I made that point with you there a few moments ago, John. The last time I was in Gaelic Park, and I was even speaking to a few people involved with football over there, and they were saying the same thing. What's going to happen? So I suppose we'll have to wait and see when we go
Yeah,
out there on the weekend if they
yeah,
are going to make those changes. Because of course, Gaelic Park isn't just for Gaelic football. There's so many sports played there.
yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting to see how they manage that. But going back to your point about Galway, Galway are very strong. And Galway, I think, have a great chance. Last year, of course, they lost in the Ireland final. I think the new rules are suiting Galway because of that big factor of scoring from outside that 40-metre arc. Galway has some terrific footballers. Shane Walsh, in particular, is excellent. Damien Comer, real strong physical unit. Rob Finnerty, of course, son of Anthony Finnerty, who's played for Mayo. He plays for Galway in the full forward line. You have Paul Connor in the middle. Big, strong physical team. They'll certainly be thereabouts come the
Oh,
business
and
in
we
Ted
would hope
Ireland.
so. We'll be shouting for the Galway side, of course, west of Ireland. Why not? And I mean, the game has come a long way. So young guys playing after national school when we didn't have any lines on the field, didn't even have a crossbar or rail. You put your school bag down in one corner and someone else put there, and then we just kick a ball around. But that's how it goes, and it's all about
Yeah.
practice, practice, practice. So with yourself and Paul Claffey over and Jerry Glennon and that's a lot of you over, I assume that Mildred Byrne is left minding the house. And I want to say hello to Mildred Byrne because Mildred Byrne and myself go back a long way, and we have our own medals and achievements. We featured in the Guinness Book of Records one time, not for football, not for sport, but for music. And Mildred had the biggest, longest, largest, smallest Ceilidh band in the world. And I will not repeat that because I know I'll get something wrong. It'll be like on Jeopardy. But Mildred can explain it herself the next time she's broadcasting from Midwest Radio in Ballyhonus, County Mayo, one of the most popular radio stations in Ireland. I can let my listeners know. And people here in New York and in the USA can get Midwest Radio. Just Google midwest.ie. And Connolly's features a lot in their promotion for promoting Midwest Radio. So let me see what else I'd like to ask you. The weather, as you can see, is going to be excellent in New York when you're over.
Lovely.
We're going to have high temperatures. I would advise Paul Claffey and Jerry to bring the suntan lotion because they could get sunburnt, and yourself indeed. And the atmosphere in Connolly's is always good atmosphere. And you will be meeting people from Mayo indeed and Galway, and indeed a lot of Irish Americans. And there's a big outpouring of people from USA planning trips to Ireland this year. Probably one of your best years for tourism in a long, long time. You know, get to roll out the red carpet for the guests going back. And I believe a lot of the country bars now have them ATMs and credit card machines. And I know you'll take anything, dollars, euros, even old money is good. So speaking of the bar trade in Mayo, I know of the family bars, the Anglers West. That's where my sister and your mother hail from, and then you branched out and you have a bar near Killala, Lacken Cross. Tell us about the bar trade. I'm really curious about the pint, not the pints and the Gaelic football. How much is a pint of Guinness nowadays?
Yeah, so a pint of Guinness varies. If you're in Temple Bar, John, it'll set you back a considerable amount. I think it's touching the double digits now in Temple Bar, but thankfully we're not there. We're in the west of Ireland. So, my mother's pub, I think the pint is just around the €5 still, which is one of the
Wow,
cheapest pubs for a pint.
that is a
And
good deal.
you come over along Cage of Fields and come on to Kilcummin, you're paying 20 cent extra for the view. So I think it's 5.20, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, or maybe it's more actually this stage. And lager is a little bit extra, but yeah, it's still very competitive when you think of
As Pat
you're
Healy
paying
would
for.
say in Glenamoy, well, you don't mind paying a little extra if you get a proper pint, you know. You don't want a bishop's collar on it, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's good to know. And of course, for coming into the good weather in the summer season, over where you are, you're near the water there.
Mm.
So I did something before on water sports. Do you still have
Yeah,
all that diving and surfing
yeah.
and
Yeah,
much?
there is so much of that happening, and a new initiative which has started recently as well. It's outdoor mobile sauna. So there's a gentleman, Richard Rowe's name is. He's from Inniscrone, and he brings over his mobile sauna unit, and it's parked there at the pier, just down the road from Bessie's Bar. And you can go into the Atlantic Ocean, cool down, come back into the sauna for 10 minutes, and get all steamed up again, as they say, and in and out. And
Wow.
people do that all year round.
I'm very curious. I'd love to interview that guy actually, because I haven't heard anything as innovative since Christy Moore and Jackson Brown were playing in Lift and Varna, and that's a long, long time ago. But Christy Moore did make references to massage parlors in horse boxes, and I
Mm.
could see the creativity in that. But I'm sure this is a more modern version of a sauna. I'm sure it has more to than just a horse box.
Yeah,
Does he hook it up to the back of the car and bring it home with him? Or
he does, yeah, yeah. He'd leave it there for the weekend, and yeah, it's very impressive. And if you see the images of it, like if you check him out online, you'll see it there. If you go onto Bessie's page on Instagram, you'll see old photographs and
well,
videos that he had.
I'll have to look it up, and it looks like you're availing of it yourself. You're looking good. You could over you you won't need it when you get to New York because the weather will be so nice here. And I know my listeners will be curious. JP Reddington and his wife, they did a tour down the Bessies and all that area, and they're bringing over golfers to Ireland during the summer on their tours. That's JP Ashling Tours. I'll put her name up in a minute. So that's another advantage. Well, how much is a sauna and run out in the cold water in outside Bessie?
Yeah, it's very reasonably priced. I can't think of the exact price top of my head, but it is very reasonably priced, and it's just another, I suppose, activity that people can do, when they
Right.
come, and they can also avail of boat tours as well. Inniscrone boat tours, you can come across from Inniscrone to
That's a nice idea.
Kilcummin.
I like that.
It's just 10-15 minutes in a boat. You can
That's perfect.
look. Yeah, so it is, and we're getting lots of groups lately coming as well. So it's yeah, it's all
Well, we'll
kind of.
spread the word here about that. And geez, I never thought of a sauna in Killala or Carramore Lacken. It'd be more a bar tan than a tan like that. But as long as the Guinness is flowing and we get the bar tan. Well, Mike, anything else we need to add? I know that I'll be telling the Galway people will be meeting you down in Connolly, the court, Paul Claffey and Jerry and yourself. And are you bringing another helper?
Yeah, Brendan is our tech guy. He'll be
Well,
the
you need
man that
him.
gets us on air. Yeah, we need him.
You need him, definitely. That's very, very important. I've a tech guy too, and he is able to solve problems, especially with myself and Martin Moore. When it comes to talking about Special Olympics, we looked like we were more participants than volunteers. But Martin Moore does good work on as a volunteer, and that's Martin. And now I think I'll say goodbye to you. Enjoy New York City and enjoy 1 pint or 2 pints, whatever it is. Make the best of it. So on.